Oh, we'll share the slides. Thanks of that. So today's Lunch and Learn is all themed around Disability Pride Month, or in Luton, we're marking it for the first time as Disability Celebration Month, with kind of emphasis on people's abilities rather than, looking at their achievements, the obstacles that they've overcome, and kind of how their different lived experiences are in Luton. So we've got 4 members of the Community Disability Network group that are here with us today. So we'll be hearing from Karen first, then Justina, then Simon, and then closing with Mari, and there'll be an opportunity for any questions at the end. So they're all Luton residents with various different lived experiences, and this is just a great opportunity to learn more about their individual situations, but also to kind of hear from them what maybe would be helpful for council colleagues to know about or to recognise a bit more around the topic. Not everyone may have experience of someone with additional needs, so it's just an opportunity to kind of give people a voice and to learn a bit more about the topic, really. So we'll make a start. I'll start sharing the slides, and then we'll kick off with Karen. Can everybody online see the slides? If someone could let me know. Anyone speak up that's online?
Yes, we can. It's very clear. Yep.
Okay, thanks, Sultan. So Karen, if you want to make a start, I'll turn my mic off.
Hello everyone, my name is Karen James and I run my own fibromyalgia support group. So what is fibromyalgia? In 2015, fibro was classified as a nervous system disorder. What this means for the sufferer is you are constantly in chronic pain, as our nerves are always firing. For example, if you stub your toe, it may hurt for 2 to 3 minutes. For fibromyalgia sufferer, it can last up to 10 to 15 minutes. It has been described as, imagine you waking up with the worst case of flu you have had, and that's what it feels like. There are secondary conditions that go hand in hand with fibro, such as IBS, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, carpal tunnel, Raynaud's, depression and anxiety. In the UK alone, there is 2.5 million people suffering with fibromyalgia, of which 10% are men. As you can see, there are over 200 symptoms. The most common ones being pain and stiffness all over your body, chronic fatigue and tiredness, sleep problems, problems with thinking, memory and concentration, headaches including migraines, and that's why I'm using the cue cards today because I have brain fog. Less common symptoms are noise and smell sensitive and also misophonia. This will take your annoyance level for certain noises like snoring, loud chewing, etc. from 0 to 10 in seconds. It can also make your skin so sensitive that sometimes I can't even wear my clothes because it hurts. The tiredness is no normal tiredness. You could sleep for full 12 hours and still not feel refreshed. How does fibromyalgia affect you? As you can see, I've gone from someone that could do 10-mile walks to someone that can walk a little. It started with sticks and now I'm a wheelchair user 98% of the time. All the ladies that come to my group use some kind of walking aid. Anything that deals with travel, packing, etc. can set your anxiety levels off, and just travelling small distances can cause you to have a flare-up and chronic fatigue. Forgetfulness or fibro fog is a condition is one of the most embarrassing symptoms, as you can hear, and I also managed to get my words mixed up. Especially when you're out or talking to friends, you can also get the words the wrong way around. Another thing that a fibro sufferer can have is guilt. Guilt that you can't do the things you used to, or my ladies say it's the guilt that they have on their partners. My husband has now become my carer and has had to give up work, and my son has to help around the house. And we all carry this guilt. And in our group, we talk, we cry, we discuss everything. I read new research every week, but the main symptoms that everyone finds embarrassing is the fog and the words the wrong way around. And also, there is another fight you have, PIP. PIP is so hard. The form is difficult. I've been refused 6 times, even though I'm a wheelchair user, and I am now getting full PIP, but I had to fight. And I did email the head of the Department of Works and Pensions, to tell her that the assessment wasn't fit for purpose. The treatments you can get. Medication is the go-to for doctors in treating fibromyalgia. Both pregabalin and gabapentin are an anticonvulsant drug used because it suppresses your nerves. However, using these, the side effects are awful, from weight gain to it can cause forgetfulness. Pregabalin has been likened to being on like a heroin type drug. It is really, the side effects are terrible. You get dizziness, nausea, weight gain, blurred vision, numbness or pain in the hands and the feet. The drugs, amitriptyline is a mild antidepressant, and they give you that to help you sleep at night. However, they have now upped mine to 125 amitriptyline and 150 milligrams of pregabalin, and I cannot function at all. So I have to take these really early, otherwise the next day there's just nothing. America are a lot further ahead than we are. They have all different kinds of treatments there, but there still needs to be a lot of research done on fibromyalgia, on the treatments of it, and just how it affects people in daily life. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. So next we'll be hearing from Justina.
Hello everyone, my name is Justina, and first of all I would like to thank Lauren and her team for allowing us to speak today. I mean, disability is something that I'm very passionate about myself. I do not suffer with any disability, but I'm parent of the child with additional needs. I'm not gonna say special needs, as often people get offended by using word special. I mean, my daughter is special, but I don't like to consider her as a child with the special needs. So my journey as a SEN parent started around 7 years ago, when obviously I was not, probably it's difficult to say I was quite fortunate, but because I had a family member with autism, I could spot the signs in my daughter quite early, and I was able to start the fight, I would say. I think that was the time that I would consider myself becoming a fighter. From the moment where you try to get a diagnosis for your child, and then to seek support and being able to accommodate the needs of the child. It was a difficult journey, I must say, although now when the things got easier, I do not remember all those bad moments. I try to only focus on positives that came out of my journey. I would say one of my biggest achievements is getting my driving license. You will not believe, but I did it only because the journeys by bus were very difficult for myself and my daughter. She didn't like the crowds. She was kicking off often. I simply couldn't bear people looking and staring at me when my daughter wasn't behaving well. I don't expect you all to understand what I'm going through, because I feel like unless you are in the situation, you are not fully able to understand. I won't be able to understand what Karen is going through using her wheelchair. I won't be able to fully understand what Simon and his team are going through, being not able to see properly. So my purpose of being here is just for the people to get a little bit of compassion towards children with disabilities. I feel like they don't have equal opportunities to better life, I would say. I mean, as a parents, we want best for our children. We're expecting them to finish schools with the great marks. We're expecting them to go to university, to build their families. Where often for the children with additional needs, it's not the case. There is a constant battle even just to get the school placement, to get the right support. I recently found out that the children are actually being expelled from the special needs school. To be honest, it shocked me because I thought something like that cannot happen. Fortunately, that's the cases for many parents in secondary schools now where children are being expelled and not actually alternative provision being given to them. So then from the parent perspective, you think, okay, what now? As a parent, as a person, I think we often lose our identity as humans. I mean, I become mom, and I'm very proud of my daughter in all her achievements. But then, even going through the appointments, I've been called mom. Are you okay with this, mom? Are you accepting this, mom? Hold on a second, I have a name. If you don't know my name, just ask for it. But I think mom, it's a special title that should be used only for my daughter. Although I'm very proud mom, but I would prefer my daughter to call me mom, not the health professionals, not the teachers, to be called by them mom. And throughout last few years, I've been working closely with local authority to improve the services for children with special needs. Myself and a couple of my friends, also parents and carers for children with additional needs, worked hard to try to create resources and information that parents and carers can seek support, and we created a quite large network of parent carers. So I think other parents are often the best source of information. What else can I say? The outcome of today, I would like to see opportunities for the children with additional needs. I would like them to have a great opportunities here in Luton, because we have that vision for Luton to be disability-friendly town. So I'm hoping that in a matter of years, Luton will create opportunities for the children with additional needs to be able to grow and to succeed in life. Thank you.
Thank you, Justina. So in the PowerPoint slides, there's just some helpful resources that Justina mentioned that she was involved in creating. So if you go into the Cambridge Community Services website that's just at the bottom, you'll see lots of kind of helpful stuff that the parents were directly involved in creating to support future parents and themselves in getting the information as easy as possible to help them and their families. So next up, we've got Simon sharing his presentation.
Hello, my name's Simon. I run a social club for blind and visually impaired people in Luton. We have about 60 odd members. I also volunteer for Sight Concern, which is a local sight loss charity based in Bedford, at Sight Concern Bedford. And I'm going to be talking about blind and visually impaired people today. and try and share some sort of idea when the slides come up, but not at the moment. What I'm trying to dispel, the myth. Right, blind people, the typical conception of a blind person is black glasses, white cane, and a guide dog. And some can see nothing at all. And most can see nothing at all. I'm sure you've seen some of these videos on social media with people wearing dark glasses, a cane, and then answering the telephone, their mobile phone. Now think, why would a blind person wear dark glasses? Dark glasses, they can't see anything. Only 5% of blind people can see nothing. So the people who understand the norms is only 5% of people. This equates to approximately 150 people in Luton out of a probable 3,000 blind and visually impaired people living in Luton. 150 is a very small number. So what about the other? Can you just do that? All right, just a minute. I've changed my glasses over because I can't see which one's up there. Right, okay. So this is diabetic retinopathy. Now, what this is that it's when diabetes is not kept under control. Now, to the left, you can see the normal street view. To the right is looking through sim specs of what you're likely to see. Now, because these are simulated spectacles, that's static, but they move constantly for somebody with diabetic retinopathy. So you might be able to see something in front of you one day and not the next. So all these move round. Which one, please, Ron? Oh. I can't remember what order they were in there. Oh.
Sultan, are you sharing your screen?
Oh.
I'm sorry.
There we go. Right. Okay. Now this is cataracts. Now these could be treated, but obviously when people get older, they're more likely to have cataracts. Now as you can see at the top, that's what somebody with cataracts would be able to see, and at the bottom is obviously the normal pavement. Right, now this is glaucoma. Now glaucoma is treated with drops. It also is related to diabetes. Now you might be able to see through some of that. You can sort of see light and dark. You can see shadows, but that's about it. So you might know that there's something in front of you, but you wouldn't know what it was. Right. This is macular degeneration. Now, this is something that happens when you get older. You don't have to be particularly old to get it, but that's, a friend of mine had it in her 50s. And this is sort of what you see. It's like having black spots, or floaters that they call them, all over your eyes. Now, again, the same with the diabetic retinopathy. They will probably not be in the same place. They can move around daily. All right, so this is loss of central vision. So this one's a bit difficult to, which is not done quite right. But basically, you're losing your central vision, and all you can see is your peripheral vision. Now, you can also have a mixture of these conditions. You can have one in one eye and one in another eye, or two conditions in both the same eyes. Another one? Oh, right, okay. Oh, yeah, no, you can't really see this. But if you can see the bright spot in the middle there, that's all you can see if you've got tunnel vision. So you can just see exactly what's in front of you. Now, these are only a few eye conditions, but with all these eye conditions, you're blind. You're legally blind. So that's, yeah, I think that was the last one on that one. Yeah, all right, okay. Right, so these are obviously just some conditions about that people with visual impairments have. In our social group, we have about 60 people. None of them actually read Braille. So what can people do? Tech has come a long way with smartphones. You can read emails, and like most things, people have on their iPhones or smartphones, it reads Facebook, Twitter, etc. Most things, but it doesn't read pictures. It can't tell you what the picture is. So what is one way? So that is one way of communicating with people, is you ask them to see if they can actually read emails, if they've got the technology to read emails. Organisations send large print, CDs and emails to VIs so the information can be passed on, e.g. bills, etc., because obviously people can't read the bills. However, forms can't really be filled in. This is where an organisation really has to look at their reasonable adjustments and ask, are they reasonable? Now, the answer to why a blind person wears dark glasses, it's the same reason as you wear sunglasses. It's due to light sensitivity that aggravates their eye condition. We all need to be included, not excluded. And thank you very much for your time on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. So we're now going to hear from Mari.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Mari, and I'd like to raise awareness about a condition that I suffer from, which is dystonia, which is a neurological brain movement disorder, and I have hand focal dystonia as well. I have left some leaflets out for everybody to, I'd be grateful if you could take them and read them. Most of the symptoms I have are in the neck, upper limbs. I have problems swallowing, my jaw, headaches. My neck is permanently sort of to the right. I'm unable to look left. And so just a little sort of twist like this and just not being able to turn left really impacts on everything you do, from going to the shops or getting in the shower, anything you do. And this is what I want to talk about today, is reasonable adjustments. Do people really understand what reasonable adjustments are? Three sort of areas: employment, my experiences with employment, access in public services, transport, and just sort of everyday life. Examples of employment where I think reasonable adjustments just weren't understood. It was December, it was snowing, it was icy outside, and they needed somebody to go with somebody else from a different department and hand out leaflets outside Asda's in Dunstable. And I was the only one available, and I said, well, I can't, I've got no balance. I have enough problems sort of not hitting the floor without the snow. I also said with tremors and muscle spasms, it's not a good idea to go and stand out in the cold. I went, and I'll explain the reason why I went afterwards. That to me was a total misunderstanding of reasonable adjustments. There was no risk assessment done. During this place of work as well, physiotherapists had come out at the request of access to work. So they set up a big station, all ergonomic, armrest, everything there, Dragon software. It was all there, and I was often asked to go to somewhere else if it was understaffed. So what was the point of having a reasonable adjustment and a workstation if I then had to leave that and I had to work somewhere which was painful, which was difficult? Also, a member of staff used to walk around tipping over saying, "Oh, you look tilted today." And there wasn't one reaction from members of staff. That in itself makes you feel excluded. It makes you feel invaluable. But I was really curious with all the talk about equality and diversity. Why did this happen? Again, the vulnerability of why I did those things, which I shouldn't have done, is in-work poverty. I live on my own. I'm a single person. The only income I had was mine. So that makes you vulnerable to accepting these conditions. It makes you vulnerable to being exploited within work with a disability. Other things that I find challenging is asking, if I ring up places beforehand and say, "Oh, do you have a lift? You know, do you have stairs or lifts?" And often the question is, and this has been from the hospital, well, do you have a wheelchair or walking aid? No. Well, I should have a walking aid, but because of my neck, the position of it, it wouldn't work. I often have to explain about my balance and lack of space and awareness. Basically, I'm looking at everything crooked. So I can't see my feet. If I walk up and down stairs, if I try to cross the road, I can't turn left. All of these things are just totally brushed aside as if I don't have any right to have reasonable adjustments because I don't tick a box. Unfortunately, it's all about criteria. And do you tick this box? Often I don't tick the box. I can't write for long. I use ergonomic pens and things like that. Often I'm asked to fill in a long form and I say I can't do it, and they say, "Why? Your hands look fine." I have to sort of argue and convince them that I need support. These are the things I face on a daily basis. In terms of medical professionals, many people ask me what's wrong with me, and I say, "Isn't it on my notes?" They say, "I don't know what it means." Situations I've come across is having a hearing test, and the person doing the hearing test kept telling me to keep my head still and stop moving. They said they didn't understand what I had. ENT specialist trying to examine the back of my throat started shouting at me saying, "Well, if you don't keep your head still, I'm going to put on there, you're not complying. You won't let me examine you." They're the sort of things I face. My last encounter with the locum doctor was because of the tremor, "How long have you been an alcoholic?" They're the things I'm facing on a sort of daily basis, excuse me. The worst thing was I'd fallen down the stairs and I'd gone to A&E, and the nurse looked at my neck and she sort of went running out. Next minute, 3 doctors came charging in, 3 nurses. They grabbed me. One grabbed my head and said, "Keep still, you've broken your neck." I said, "It's dystonia." They put me on this surfboard and strapped me there, which it does seem sort of comical if if you're saying it at a dinner party. But I laid there for a few hours, strapped, having tremors, having muscle contractions. I was unable to move. The worst thing you can do for somebody with muscle contractions and spasms is keep them locked up. You need to stretch the muscles. And because I was shouting dystonia, not one person that day knew what dystonia was. Not one doctor, not one nurse. I said, "I've not hurt my neck, it's dystonia." Had I shouted out Parkinson, it would have made that connection. If I'd have said MS, the connection would have been there. Dystonia is the 3rd most common muscle disorder, brain movement disorder. It overlaps with Parkinson. I have the tremor, I have the swallowing problems, but nobody understands what it is. I haven't gone to a hairdresser for about 5 years. Obviously, I have a home mobile. Last time I went, my experience, I sat there and she kept slapping my head saying, "Keep your head still." And up until about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, I was like this. So my chin was literally touching my shoulder. I still get like that. If I walk for more than 15, 20 minutes, it will change my body, my posture changes. And then when I said, you know, I have a neurological condition, she shouted out in front of everyone, oh, some people think they're special. I've never gone back to a hairdresser's before. Several years ago, I went to the hygienist at the dentist. They have private ones coming now. Hygienist was tutting and moaning every time I had the tremors. At that point, I can control my neck a lot better now because I'm sort of sitting here. And I got charged £100 extra because I'd taken another client's spot, and she was most annoyed that my neck kept moving. Where is the reasonable adjustment? I don't think people, you tick boxes, you have a ramp, you let guide dogs in, you do this. You're not looking at brain movement disorders. You're not looking at reasonable adjustments in their real, true sort of context. And the other things I face and other people face on a daily basis. The worst thing is when it first happened, because I was very much deformed, if I can use that word. I use that for me, not other people. I'd go to a shop, and pay for something, and people shout, oh, have you slept funny? Oh, have you got a stiff neck? Staff members, you go to doctor's receptionists, oh, have you slept funny? Constantly. So you don't want to be reminded what you have, something that's robbed you of your life. And when you go out, and I say to people, you have to stand in front of me and to my side. No, they just don't get the concept of what I'm experiencing with the brain movement disorder. The worst thing was about 5 or 6 years ago, I'd gone with age concern for PIP. And on the form, it said reasonable adjustments. I said, you have to sit in front of me to my side. When we got in there, the person from age concern and myself, the assessor was on the left. I said, I can't see you. Obviously, there was nothing wrong with me. When I read the form, I felt degraded. I felt humiliated that I'd tried to do something illegal to ask for this help. And the good thing was, what he put on there was I had good eye contact. Well, all he saw was the back of my head or the ear. These are the sort of things, and that's to do with power, I think, because they have the power to write and say exactly what they think. You'll never win them. I took it to ICE, independent case examiners. They came back and said it's not a case to uphold for reasonable adjustments because they were trying to say statutory authority, which is there was health and safety reasons why he couldn't put the desk in front of me. I don't accept that. I've taken it to the Ombudsman and Parliament. There is no compensation. I'm not getting money. I lost 5 years of PIP. But you know what? This needs to be spoken about, reasonable adjustments. And you really need to listen to people and understand that if people don't tick the boxes, go outside the box. Because that's something I experience on a daily basis. And a few years ago, I was down there. I didn't want to leave. I thought, that's it, I'm finished. I'm now up here. But there are people now down here who are facing what I faced. I can cope with it now. I have the ability to meet those challenges. My concern is those who are down there who don't want to live with it and who can't face those challenges. So when you talk about equality and diversity, it looks great on paper, but for me, equality and diversity it does not exist at the moment fully in its true context. So thank you.
Thank you, Mari. Thank you. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we'll have an opportunity to ask some questions of the panel in a second. But as I mentioned, all 4 of our amazing speakers today are part of the Disability Network Group. So this was set up as a result of our the social justice unit within the council kind of writing the fairness strategy, so convening focus groups with different residents and community members that fell under the different protected characteristics, and were basically wanting to move on just from the focus groups into kind of established networks. So we've been meeting regularly now probably for the last year. And it's kind of made up of individuals, sort of parent carers, but also representatives from local organisations in Luton. So it's open to anyone that kind of wants to get involved. So my contact details are there at the bottom. We do try and switch up the meetings, so we're happy to do kind of daytime, evening, or repeat them if it doesn't always work for people's schedules. So these are just some of the things that we've been working on and have achieved so far. So this is the first time I'm aware of that Luton has marked Disability Pride Month. So we've had 2 events so far in St George's Square, and we've still got 2 more to go. So we've got one on Thursday. We've tried to theme them to, obviously it's such a broad topic, so we're trying to kind of have some kind of a theme, so that it's not just trying to kind of cover everything in one afternoon. So this week we're looking around neurodiversity and invisible disabilities. So Karen will be having a stall there, and we've got some other really good community organisations representing as well. We also will be having a dementia experience bus, so it will be like a simulation basically to kind of better understand what someone with dementia, how they experience the world. Our final event on Friday the 28th of July is around young people and additional needs, and we'll be having an autism experience bus there as well. The team that kind of marked Learning Disabilities Week had it booked for last year, and I went on it myself, and it's a real eye-opener. So if you are available at all to come down to those on either this week or next week, we'll be in St George's Square 11 till 2 on Thursday the 20th, and then again on Friday the 28th. We've also partnered with Parkrun as like a bit of a disability, like an accessibility run, kind of themed around the sunflower, which is the lanyard for hidden disabilities. So if anybody would like to get involved, they can have, people guiding. If you need to be pushed at any point, if you use a mobility aid, then they're trying to open up the activity for other people. So that anybody and everybody can enjoy it. We've also got a series of awareness videos that are sharing people's lived experience. So if you go into the council's YouTube channel, so 2 are up so far, and we've got 5 being produced in total. And this has all been supported with working with the with like adult social care colleagues as well, and we're finally looking at an events accessibility guide, because Luton does amazing events, so just want to make sure that those are as accessible and enjoyable for as many people as possible. So I'll stop sharing my screen now, and we've got about 15 minutes for questions if anybody's got anything they would like to ask, or any thoughts, comments, etc. Yeah, go on, share.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, first of all, fantastic presentations, excellent experiences shared. Thank you for sharing those with us. About the experience of exclusion in school, you mentioned. We are working with other EDI groups and looking at similarity. And Eastern European community face similar challenges. So I'd like to know a bit more in terms of what type of things that you felt was the main issues. And if we can probably, obviously, we'll try get similar experiences where other groups are facing and try get those connected up and work up the way.
I mean, to be honest, I was very shocked to hear from other parents that actually child in the special needs school can be excluded from the school. I understand that in the mainstream sector, when the child or young person behaves in a certain ways and they have that mental capacity to understand that they did something wrong, or they just simply not behaving in a matters that it's actually acceptable in the mainstream school. but for the children and young people in the special needs schools, where often there is no proper educational curriculum, where there is no actually expectations from those children to learn. It's often the case that they spend a couple of hours there being looked after by the staff members, and to hear that actually someone can be excluded due to their, I would assume, bad behavior, but not actually having capacity to understand that their behavior is not right, or that they're causing danger to themselves and to the others. And yeah, probably there is a situation that things like that are happening, but I would assume that school, before making decision of permanently expelling the child, then there will be alternative provision for the child, especially for the parents who, let's say, are working parents. Then when suddenly you get the news that your child is permanently expelled from the school, then where do you go from there? You become jobless, because you will need to look after your child permanently at home. And I believe that the schools are receiving funding for those children to provide care and support for them. Then what's happened with those funds? So, to be honest, I worked closely with local authority, and until this point, I haven't heard that actually school has a right to expel the child from the special needs school. Thank you. I can say hello to Catherine Barrett. I work with her closely, and it's a pleasure to see her.
Thank you. And you?
Catherine, you've got your hand up. Did you want to come in?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Catherine Barrett. I'm a Commissioner in Adult Social Care. Although I am going back to children's very shortly, so I shall look forward to seeing you again very soon. Just a query. I mean, obviously, it's fantastic to hear, and similar to the previous question, such a wide range of disability, and thank you for raising our awareness. I hadn't thought about. I do refer to people as mum. I think I'm being nice, but you've made me realise that actually no, it's wrong. You're an individual. I should be using your name. So I suppose what I'm interested in is, we've heard lots of things that aren't going so well. Can you give, or any of you give, any examples of where we have seen improvements? What would be, or what we can learn from good practice about where you as individuals have had your needs appropriately adjusted, so that you do feel that you're able to tell your story or be treated just in the same way as everybody else?
I think since last year, I started to do courses with the Recovery College. I went back to volunteering, and I found the Recovery College, they ordered a chair I needed. I don't have any sort of feeling that they're looking at me, or they're looking at my tremors or anything like that. And I've just sort of excelled from that. I'm now one of the peer tutors and the peer mentors. So I sort of went back into sort of looking at work again because of that. But and also Active Luton, I can't thank them enough. The very fact that they work with your needs within the sort of exercise or swimming means, for someone, I mean, this may sound a bit sort of cheesy, but for anyone to actually go along when you've experienced what I experienced, and the discrimination, the exclusion, that somebody actually takes the time to read up about your condition and applies that to your needs within an organisation is better than winning the lottery. If I did it, it just makes you feel like a whole person. And just by understanding people and listening to people, and even if you don't understand everything, the very fact that you've taken the time and effort to do that makes you move forward. It makes you feel that you're part of the community, that you belong somewhere. Because when you're not listened to and people don't understand, you feel you don't belong anywhere, that you don't fit in. So Luton Active Luton, and the Recovery College, organisations like that, and just sort of listening to you and understanding you. And also, I've just recently been in touch with Isaac, and Isaac has really sort of raised my confidence in about what can happen in the community, and that I'm part of that community. Already we've set up a poetry group. Just people listening to you and not sort of making you feel uncomfortable, I think.
Yeah, I was just going to say I think the best experience that we've had as a group is actually through London Underground and the trains out. They're absolutely brilliant. We went down to London. We went on the boat on the Thames, so we have to do everything step free. Because some people don't like the lift, some people don't like escalators, so we have to keep everything step free. So just go from one to another. The staff in the stations in London are fantastic. With regards to local issues, then most of the information that we gather is actually through our social club, because we get to know about it. People talk about it. We don't get any information from anywhere else. Site concern has sort of shrunk rather. So all the forms were for filling in for a bus pass. I must say, actually, it took me 3 weeks to get a bus pass and 5 days to get a driving license. Yeah. So we actually have a volunteer who goes through all the forms online at the social club, and that's how that actually gets done. So, because if they had to come down here and do it, there's no expectation that those would actually happen. So basically, we do it ourselves. Oh yeah, sorry, just one other thing. We were actually in Luton Carnival twice, and all the costumes were made by the VI people. Even under lockdown, we sent costumes out. I sent costumes out to be decorated. They all came back, and that was what we got up to during lockdown.
Thank you.
Having an invisible disability is hard to put any good experiences, but I think one of the best I had was when I did my master's at university. No one understood it, so I had to go to the health and wellbeing and explain to them what it was, and they helped me with the laptop, the Dragon software, so I could talk and it could type on the computer, a special tray to have in bed, because with fibromyalgia, if you get chronic fatigue, you may not be able to get out of bed for 3 or 4 days. Yeah, and that was the most positive experience I've had. They did not make me feel different or like I stood out. It was just really good, to the point where I was asked to go back on International Women's Day and give a presentation about fibro. But bad experiences would be Luton train station. There's no lift down to the platforms. So, but
Can I just say the lift's been out for about 5-6 weeks and it's still not working. So about 2 years, I think before lockdown, I made a fuss with the railway. Oh, sorry. Was that on when I spoke? And I sort of wrote to the railway and they said it's the council. So there was this backwards and forwards, no one would take responsibility. I had leg casts on at the time and things, and it was really, really awkward, but it's been out for about 6 weeks now. So should that be happening? Should it not be an immediate, who's responsible for fixing it? Is it the council or is it the railways?
I can answer that. It's actually Network Rail. It has been raised with them, and it was raised with them 6 weeks ago when it first went out of action, and it's being continued to be pushed. And unfortunately, we're in their hands until they actually do something. Like, we can't send out mechanics to fix a lift what we don't own. What I know doesn't help. What you can do and what reasonable adjustments can be made by the train company is actually, what they will say is getting off at a different station, so getting off at Airport Parkway, and they'll then pay for a taxi for your onward journey to a relevant. I know that doesn't help, and it also doesn't help if you're coming through from Hightown into the town centre, because actually if the lift's broken, you can't get down, you have to go right way around. But that's what they'll tell us if every time we raise it. I know it doesn't help, but that's hopefully the answer, to give you an answer at least, if it's not the one you want to.
Yes, they used to email me back and say the Luton Council are responsible, so they wouldn't take, that's what they were doing.
Please do forward any emails like that to us.
That was from a few years ago, if I can find them. But and then I contacted the council. But how can this happen though? Because this is real exclusion. People aren't participating in life because of that lift. Surely it can't take weeks to fix something. You know, you can go to the moon and do things. Surely they can fix a lift. You know, but on a serious point, this is saying if you can't get down the stairs, you're not worthy to. You know, it devalues you. It's not right that should be happening. It can't be that hard to fix a lift.
I'm not an engineer, so I can't comment, but I do show your sympathy. We've just had a big struggle in the town hall, in fact, with replacing a lift, and it has gone on for a long time. So I think there's an important message there about the importance of infrastructure and prioritising some of those access issues. But please, if Network Rail do try and say it's a council's responsibility, we can take that up with them.
P then.
Could I just say another good thing? Luton Adult Social Care not only helped me get all the mobility aids I needed, but also Anne and Anna helped me set up my fibromyalgia support group. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have all my ladies with me on a Thursday afternoon. So I just want to say thank you.
And I would like to say, I think that the big achievement for us is being here, being able to talk, because I remember when I contacted Social Justice Unit a year ago with idea of celebrating disability, I did not really believe that someone will get back to me and things will progress. So I think it's a massive achievement for us, people who live with disability on daily basis. I mean, myself, I haven't got any disability, and I can't even imagine what Karen, Marie and Simon are going through on daily basis, but I do understand that disability in the family does affect whole family, not only person with disability, it does affect whole family dynamic. And I think it's very important that we are here because we are the service users. So we are I would say, the best source of information for those on the upper level to improve the service, because we can tell you firsthand what is working and things are not working great. I think people are easy to judge. I wasn't very sensitive about all those titles, disabilities, abilities, special need, whatever, until I went to swimming lessons, and then I was I wanted to enroll my daughter for the swimming lesson, and I was told by someone who actually never met my child that she's not disabled enough. And then I thought to myself, hold on a second, what's wrong with the people? She never met her. How she can assume that she's not capable to actually benefit from the scheme that meant to be for the children with disabilities? And then I started to be more passionate about raising the issues of problems that families are facing, because it's not only my situation, because there is currently in Luton, the amount of children with the additional needs is very high. And I understand that we are not able to fix the issues in a matter of weeks, but starting from now, I do believe that things will improve and we'll be able to raise our children in a way that, as a parents, we will be happy to watch them grow and thrive. Thank you.
Anne, you've been very patient with your hand up. We've got 2 minutes left if you want to come in.
I'll be quick. I don't need as much as 2 minutes. What I was going to say is one of the positive things is that we actually got this event and this opportunity to really give some knowledge and to tell the community about the experiences of people and with disabilities and the carers. And so I think this is a really great start. So that's one of the great positive things. And Lauren, you don't know yet, but once this month is finished, we're going to start looking at, or hope to, that we can work together to look at sensory, how we can make it more community focused and have something more community focused for people with sensory issues and people, and also young people in the community with learning disabilities particularly, and physical disabilities, who now are getting to the stage of leaving school.
And you've put yourself on mute halfway through your sentence.
Can you hear me now? I don't know what's happened there, but I'm in a little building in Lucy. I do apologize. So it's a great start, and I want to say well done to all the contributors and well done to the people attending, so that we can have that consistent message. And it's about inclusion, not about putting people in little boxes and putting them in a corner, but having a town that includes everybody so that you could go out and it's per norm. Thank you.
Sorry, can I just have a quick one? I'd just like to thank the sensory team from Luton Borough Council, are absolutely brilliant. Tracy, she's an absolute star. She comes up, talks to the club. We've had people come round from the sensory centre, sensory team, talking to club members, and they're absolutely brilliant, really, really brilliant. Unfortunately, there's not enough of them. That's what I'd say on that. But yeah, they're absolutely brilliant.
Lovely. Well, thank you, Simon. That was a nice note to end on. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We're bang on 2 o'clock. Like I said, we've been recording this session, so it'll be available on the internet and around Yammer and things like that, with the slides as well. Catherine, did you put your hand up? Oh no, you were clapping, great. Perfect, well thank you so much everyone. If there's any further questions or conversations that you want to have, welcome to come along to one of our network groups that we have. We don't have them set out for the rest of the year, but we do meet monthly, so please just get in touch with me and I can invite you along, or you can be one of the members of the group. It's open to everyone and anyone that would like to contribute and kind of, you know, work together to make these things happen. So thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Can I just say there are some leaflets on the table as well, and booklets on display.
Make sure you take them.